Hi everyone, my name is Amanda and I blog over at Simple Life of a Frugal Wife, and today I want to talk to you about 10 meals, cheap meals that you can make when you are like ridiculously broke. I'm talking about like you cannot pay the bills, you don't know how you're gonna buy groceries, and you need like the cheapest of the cheap. So I'm going to go over 10 meals. I will put a link in the section below, and it will have a link to a blog post about the 10 meals, so you don't have to worry about writing them down if you want to go back and refer. So let's talk about it. So the first one, which I'm going to get out of the way because people are really iffy about it, is rice and beans. Now, rice and beans does not have to be scary, and it can be delicious. Our favorite, we don't like all the different kinds of beans, but our favorite is the black beans. So we'll do rice, black beans, maybe some salsa, and if we have the money, we add cheese. And that's, again, a versatile meal that you can make depending on how much money you have. So you can add the cheese and salsa, you don't have to. The next one is frittatas. Frittatas, I think people forget about eggs when they're thinking about cheap meals. Now, we have chickens, so it's super cheap for us, but even if you don't have chickens, it is very affordable. Eggs are not that expensive in the grocery store, and this is a versatile meal because you can add into it whatever you have in your fridge. So you can add vegetables, you can add meat, cheese, salsa, or you can add nothing. It's really dependent on what is in your fridge at that moment. Another one is potato soup. And this one, you can cater to what you have in your fridge as well. We love potato soup here. Everyone except one child. I have one child who says potatoes are his mortal enemy. So one who's not a fan of potatoes, but everyone else loves potatoes, and most people do like potatoes. And you can make this loaded, so whatever, again, what your budget allows for, but you can add cheese, bacon, green onions, sour cream, or you can add none of that. You basically need like broth, potatoes, maybe some onions, and you've got soup, you've got dinner. And then if you can make some homemade bread, and there is like literally that's pretty filling. And I'll put a link below actually as well for a tutorial on how to make bread if you've never made bread, or to walk you through. But it's, bread is such a great addition to meals, especially when you have kids. I realize that if you are have a gluten sensitivity or are celiac or whatnot, unfortunately you can't add bread to every meal, although there are gluten-free ones you can make, but they're going to be more costly. But if you are one of those people that gluten does not bother, then bread is a great addition to a meal when you're looking for something to fill you. Pasta. Pasta is again a very common one, and kid friendly, and so when I was younger, we didn't have much money, and it was literally like a can of sauce and pasta. Now that that I'm older and we have a little more money, I always add ground hamburger to that, and I get the bulk hamburger, and I divide it up because it's cheaper that way. And so then that's added protein, and I like it, tastes better. I might add some mushrooms, but if there's been times earlier in our marriage when we couldn't afford the hamburger, and so it was sauce and noodles. And again, this is another meal that would be great to have added bread. Loaded baked potatoes, again, you can probably see a theme here where we're using a lot of the same foods, but that's because those foods are cheap. So loaded baked potatoes, again, adding whatever you want. You can add broccoli and cheese, chili, sour cream and cheese. It's whatever you have in your fridge at that time. So it's kind of like you can do like a potato bar. Yeah, and then there's fried spaghetti, and so I used to make fried spaghetti a lot when we were really counting pennies, and I would just use leftover pasta, and then I would fry it up in the frying pan with some garlic and butter and maybe some Parmesan cheese if I had it, and it was really good. Not the healthiest, but when you are literally like no money, then you got to look at things like meals like this. But not every meal that is super cheap has minimal health benefits, and that would bring me to the next one, which is squash soup. And squash soup, definitely cheaper when it's in season, so like the fall. But squash soup is, again, very cheap to make. You add broth, you add onions. If you have carrots, they're a good addition. Some people add apples to them. You can even add bacon if you have some. But again, very versatile. You can make it with some homemade bread. This one is nice and healthy. The squash is so good for you. And it's filling and it's cheap and it's usually a crowd pleaser. So that's awesome. Sandwiches. So sandwiches, I feel like, especially for dinner, we often don't think about sandwiches, but like, again, another meal that's versatile. You can use egg salad, meat and cheese, peanut butter. I feel like this is kind of very basic information, but I feel like sometimes we think like, oh, we can't serve sandwiches for dinner, or we can only have them for lunch, but like, you can eat them any time of the day. And they can be really cheap. You can use cream cheese and cucumber. There's just so many options. Leftover chicken. Then the last one is eggs and toast. And again, as you can see, we're using eggs again. And eggs are not only for breakfast. You can make homemade bread or use store-bought bread, but just toasting it up and then adding some eggs. And then again, like whatever you have in your fridge or pantry, you can add potatoes, you can add some vegetables, just whatever. So those are 10 meals. I hope I did 10. I think I did 10. But those are 10 meals that are super cheap. Again, the health factor, I'm going to be honest, like it's not the healthiest thing you can buy, but the more you make at home, it's better for you. And honestly, when you are struggling and you can't pay your bills, if you're having a really tight budget, unfortunately, sometimes you can't think of like, you're just trying to get by. And so this is kind of like, hopefully, ideally, these meals, if this was like your whole diet, that it would be temporary until you kind of got back on your feet or things got easier. Or these are meals that you can, put in between healthier meals to just stretch the budget. So yeah, but I mean, they are still better than if you're buying processed stuff at the store. So whatever you can make at home is just often doesn't have all that added stuff. So 10 meals, ridiculously cheap to get you by. I'll put the link below so you can have it to refer to. And yeah, that's what I have to share today.